What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the best Week 6 games going from Vandy at Bama, College Game Day, all the way down to Florida State versus Miami. And we're going to be talking about the Oklahoma Sooners bye week, the recap, and the John Mateer injury. For starters, I want to talk about Texas headed down to Florida, to Gainesville, down to the Swamp. I think the big keys for Texas here are you have the Red River coming up the following week. How do you not look past a Florida team who has looked very shaky at best this year? This Florida team, their offense has been horrible. Texas, your strong suit is your defense and your defensive line. One of Texas's best things about their defense has been that defensive line that can get in and will stop the run game. They're the number one defensive run stopping team in the country right now. This Texas defensive line is very good. On their offensive side, though, how good can Arch Manning be against a very good Florida defense? Florida's strong suit is their defense, not their offense. So Arch Manning is yet again going to get tested against a very good defense like he did against Ohio State, and he was very sloppy. The offense still hasn't been great when they've faced three low-sized schools. How can their offense bounce back? Going down to Florida, it's a lot of the same questions. Your defense is great, but can you get the offense going? We know your defense is going to be able to hold them to not a ton of points because of how bad their offense has been, but how many points can you score? Are you going to be able to put points on the board? Last week against Miami, you had 61 passing yards. That is inexcusable as an offense. 61 is not going to cut it. Against this Texas defense, you're going to have to be able to establish a quick run game, get the ground game going to open up the pass game for DJ Lagway. Also for Billy Napier, you're going to have to scheme up this offense to help DJ Lagway not have to be Superman, which he has been not good at all this year. I think ultimately this game comes down to which quarterback can get the run game going to help them in the pass game. And I think it comes down to which quarterback is going to make the mistakes first. I believe both quarterbacks will make mistakes, but which ones make the first mistakes and who makes the costly ones. With that being said, I think that in a lower scoring game, Texas is going to pull this one out 24-13 to cover the 7-point spread. Moving on, I want to talk about Vandy at Bama. This game, revenge game for Bama in a way, after losing to Vandy last year and it being a surprising game. Everyone thought, oh wow, Vanderbilt won, what a surprise. What we didn't know was that this Vanderbilt team is actually a good and competitive football team. Diego Pavia has those boys going. Some of my keys for Vanderbilt are, one, you're definitely not going to sneak up on anyone this year. We all saw you last year, you snuck up on a lot of teams, but this year we know who you are. You're a ranked Vanderbilt right now. You're headed down to Tuscaloosa, to T-Town with College Game Day. There's no sneaking up on this Alabama team. They're going to be ready. How can Vanderbilt get themselves into third and manageables? If you're going to get to third down against this Bama defense, how can you make it manageable for Diego Pavia to be able to run a quarterback read option, to be able to run a quarterback power to get those extra yards, similar to how OU uses John Mateer in third and shorts? For Vanderbilt's defense, how can you rattle Ty Simpson? We saw the formula of how to beat Alabama, and that was in Week 1 versus Florida State, where Ty Simpson got very rattled in the pocket, his offensive line was collapsing, there was defensive pressure. Can you do the same game plan against Alabama this time and get home on pressure? Georgia struggled to do that. Vanderbilt, can you do that? That, I think, is your biggest key to winning this football game. Also, how do they respond to the big lights? We know Diego Pavia embraces it, but I'm talking about the rest of the team. How is the rest of the team going to respond to this game? Not thinking that they're, the big dogs. How can we go settle back down to, we're the smaller team here. We have to go fight for this win. My last point for Vanderbilt is you're going to have to be able to hit on big plays. Last year against Bama, you did it. On 4th and 1, you had a huge shot touchdown for 50 yards. Can you do those same things again and keep Bama on their heels and not be able to pack the box? Headed down to Bama, can you hold Vanderbilt from stop driving 8-minute long drives? Last year you couldn't, and that was a huge key to Vanderbilt winning. They controlled the tempo, they controlled the ball the entire football game, and it ultimately led them to a win. For Bama, can you make Vanderbilt beat themselves? Vanderbilt does not have dumb penalties. They don't have bad coaching mistakes. They don't have bad interceptions and turnovers. Vanderbilt is a very well executing team. Can Alabama force them into the turnovers? Tim Keenan's back on the Alabama defensive front. He's going to be a huge portion into that. On the offensive side for Bama, Ryan Grubb likes to get very pass heavy. Does he fall back into that trap again against a Vanderbilt team? We'll see. If he does, I think it can be bad for Alabama, as maybe it turns them into a turnover-prone team with maybe 1 or 2 turnovers in this football game, which ultimately could give Vandy life. Also, if you're Alabama, you can't let Vandy get out early and start a game. If Vanderbilt gets out to a 14-0 lead or a 10-0 lead, it can be bad for Alabama because Vanderbilt will want to control the football and control the entire game. My final prediction for this game, I think that Ryan Williams is going to have his true breakout game this year. I think he's going to go for over 100 yards, maybe a touchdown, but I think Bama's going to pull this one out in a 31-27 football game. Next up, I want to head down to Miami. Florida State at Miami. This one is going to be one heck of a fun game. We got a very good Miami team, possibly the number one team in the country, I want to argue it, versus a Florida State team who's going to have a little bit of vengeance after losing to Virginia in overtime. I think for Florida, a second loss in this game makes it a very difficult path, an almost impossible path, to make the ACC championship because you would have to rely on other teams losing, not you winning. You would have to win out from now to be able to make the playoffs if you're Florida State, if you lose. So this is almost a must-win. I hate to use that term this early in the year, but for Florida State, it almost really is. Another key for Florida State is, can you get Carson Beck to be that turnover machine that he sometimes was at Georgia? Can you rattle him? You made Ty Simpson and Bama in game 1 of the season look fluttered in the pocket. Can you do the same thing with Carson Beck? As an offense for Florida State, you utilize the run game a lot. The quarterback read option, quarterback power, quarterback wide read. You use the outside run a lot. Can you attack Miami's outside edges and be able to get the run game going? If you can be able to get a good and steady run game to open up the pass, which is what Tommy Castellanos is best at, you have a very, very good chance of winning this football game. The only problem with that is Miami has one of the best defensive lines in the country, if not the best in the country, which is going to make that very difficult. I think headed down to Miami, we're going to look at this game from the opposite of Florida State. If you win this game, you almost virtually lock yourself into the ACC championship with how easy the rest of your remaining schedule looks. You have a very easy schedule, and even if you lose one game after this, you would still be that team in the ACC championship. Also for a young team, this is your first road game of the season. How do they respond? How does Malachi Tony respond to a tough environment down in Tallahassee? I think a big key for this Miami offense is not the offensive production, but it's, can Carson Beck play a clean game? Will Carson Beck be able to go without turnovers, which is what a lot of Florida State's defensive pressure is going to be trying to force. They want Carson Beck to have some interceptable balls, which he's very susceptible to throwing. Can they make him make those throws, but can the offense of Mario Cristobal scheme around, making that not be a problem for Carson Beck? I think the biggest key for this Miami defense is be able to stop the outside zone and then be able to stop the play action passes to Deuce Robinson, that huge 6'6" wide receiver weapon. For your offensive things, it's, can Carson Beck get it done on the ground if he has to, and can you help him not throw interceptions? My keys overall for this game are which team can hit the big play and really bust open that defense and make the defense play on their heels. That is the biggest factor on offense. And then for defense, it's which D-line can get home, again, without added pressure. Which team can get in and rattle the quarterback with playing a lot of men deep in the zone. Also, this is the first game since 2013 where both teams have been ranked inside the top 20. For two powerhouse programs like Miami and Florida State, that's crazy. With all that being said, I am going to take Miami to win this football game, and I'm going to take them pretty soundly. I'm going to take them with a 27-14 win. Last but not least, let's talk about the Sooners and their bye week. It has been a great last 2 weeks for the Oklahoma Sooners on the recruiting trail with 2 5-star offensive tackles in Caden Perry out of Bixby and Cooper Hackett out of Fort Collins in Oklahoma. 2 Oklahoma prospects, 2 5-star offensive linemen. Great for Bill Beanenbaugh. Also, John Mateer continues rehab. We've seen all the Dr. Shin memes. Dr. Shin, we trust. Let's get John Mateer back for Red River. But in the meantime, let's trust Michael Hawkins to be that guy. In this great offensive system that Ben Arbuckle has, how can we create a good system and a good environment for Michael Hawkins to thrive? I think some of the biggest keys for this offensive game against Kent State this Saturday for Oklahoma is going to be establish the run game. And how different is the offense under Michael Hawkins and John Mateer? Michael Hawkins is a much different runner than John Mateer. He's less physical, but a lot faster on the edge. Do we run a lot more read options? How do we open up this offense with that run heavy versus how it was with John Mateer and slinging the ball? I think it's going to be interesting monitoring the situation between John Mateer. I truly don't think any Oklahoma people are going to know, and any of the media are going to know about John Mateer's injury until the Thursday headed up to the Red River game, because that's when the first injury report comes out. I assume John Mateer is going to be on there as somewhat of a doubtful, and then slowly through the week move up to a probable, and then of the day of the game move up to a game time decision. I don't think anyone will know until the game, because that's an Oklahoma benefit, making Texas prepare for 2 quarterbacks. Also, if you're Oklahoma, I don't want to talk badly about Kent State, but you get a bye week and then essentially a bye week-esque game. How do you use this time to prepare and get healthy for a good Texas team and a good Texas defense? How does your offense get ready with 2 quarterbacks who can probably play? How do they get ready for Texas? Those are my takes for the week. Thank y'all for tuning back in to check out my Week 6 previews. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a comment down below of what to talk about next week. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank y'all for tuning in. Boomer.